Have you ever been inside an RV when it's not level? And trust me, it's very easy to tell. Maybe you put something down on a countertop and it rolls off. Possibly just walking back and forth in your RV, you feel like you're leaning to your left or to your right. Worst case scenario, your poor dog sits down and she starts sliding down the floor of the RV. None of these are very good situations. Today what we're going to do is talk about how we level our RV. When we get to a new site, how do we prepare the RV for leveling, and some of the tools we've used in the past, some of the things we've learned, and now some of the tools that we use currently. When you purchase a new RV, you may find yourself in that situation. What comes first, the chicken or the egg? Now what I mean by that is you go and pull into a brand new site, you get out, you want to check your level that you stuck on the side of the RV to make sure you're level or pretty close to it. But you can't stick that on the RV until you know your RV is level. So this is where, chicken or the egg comes first. How do you know if the RV is level? If you don't look at your level. So that's what I want to talk about today. And before we even get started, I'll tell you a little story what happened to us the very first time we went to our very first site, actually. We pulled in, we were a little bit nervous. Again, this was our very first time pulling into a site. We had a few people watching us. We go through our checklist. We put the RV where we want it. We disconnect the tow vehicle, move the tow vehicle away, hit our little auto level button. Everything levels. We're happy. We come around to open up the door of the RV, and we notice our tires are about 3 inches off the ground. Personally, I don't like this. I know some RVs that's probably okay. I just don't like it. It's personal preference. We had to suck it up. Hook up the tow vehicle again. We moved the RV slightly to the right to get off a little bit of a hill. Followed the same processes again. We disconnected the tow vehicle, hit auto level, go back around. This time our tires are only about 1 inch off the ground. Still, it's not something I wanted to keep that way. Hook the tow vehicle back up. And this time what we ended up doing, we got some blocks of wood we had available to us, and we put them underneath the tires, and we were okay after that. But we did learn a valuable lesson with that. We want to try to get the RV as close to level as possible before we disconnect our tow vehicle, and then we can level it from there. But how do you do that? What are some of the steps you can take, or even some of the tools you can take to do that? And that's what we're going to talk about. So one of the very first things we did after this, we purchased a 2x12 piece of wood. It looks something like this. This just happens to be a 2x8, but we got a 2x12 by, I think it was like 8 feet long. I think we got it at Lowe's, as a matter of fact, and they actually cut it for us. Now, a couple mistakes with this. I had them cut it at 2 feet sections, so that gave me four pieces. What we found out after using them for a few times, the 2 feet was just too long. Sometimes I would want to wedge them in between my tires, maybe to get, if I know one side is too low, I need to raise it up, right? I'm gonna put the wood underneath it. But by being 2 feet long, I couldn't just stick it in between the tires. I had to move the whole RV and then roll back up on them. So that was a mistake. The other thing I found out by using these over a little bit of time was, because it was 12 inches wide, when the tires would roll up on these, they would crack after a while. So they would split basically down the center long way. So I think the 2x12 was a little bit too wide, and because of the splitting. What we did after that, we purchased a 2x8, and that's what this is here, and I had them cut it in 1 foot sections. Now again, when we get to a new site, if I know one side is low, I can basically put these now right in front of my tires and just roll up on top of them. That's a possibility. So the 2x8 so far, they've worked. We don't use them all the time now. I'll show you something else that we use currently, but they're nice to have. I have, I think, 8 of these, as a matter of fact. I just leave them in the back of the truck. They're there if I need them. Now, something else you can use if you want something just a little bit nicer, they have what's called RV leveling blocks. And I don't have one here in front of me because we're actually using them right now. We're not using them to level our RV. We're using them underneath our front landing legs. And the whole purpose, again, this is just a personal preference. I don't like my legs extended no more than I have to. If the way I look at it is the longer they're extended, there's a chance for more sway. There's probably more stress on them. So I would rather keep them as short as possible. So what we do is we take these little blocks, we stack them up. I have about 5 for each side. I'll put those on the ground, and then my front legs will sit on that. So that's basically gives me 5 or 6 inches less travel for my front legs. And that's, again, that's just a personal preference. You can use those in lieu of the 2x8 pieces of wood. If you need to just use them underneath a tire, perfectly fine. But we tend to use those underneath our front landing legs. Okay. Something else that we are starting to use now, and this, I guess this kind of is what we prefer. This is easiest for us. It works great for us. We have these, this is called the CarmTech leveling kit. This is really, really nice. I'm going to show you how this works. I took a couple of these out of here. So this is what it looks like. Hopefully you can see that. Now the way this works is when you're backing up, you can back up on this and roll up on this, and as you roll up on it, you can see you're actually getting higher off the ground. Okay. With this in place, once you get to where you want, now you stick your block underneath like this, and now you're locked in place. So it actually kind of acts like a chalk, and it can raise you up as well. Now this does raise one side up anywhere from a 1/2 inch up to about 4 inches. So that's pretty nice. And these bad boys can take up to 35,000 pounds. So that's pretty cool. So that's what we use currently. If I have one side that is too low and I need to raise it up, I use my CarmTech leveling kit. We have 3 axles. We put one in front of each tire, roll up on it, lock them in place, and we're good to go. What I really like about that, though, is it gives us the flexibility. Again, we can raise it up from a 1/2 inch up to about 4 inches. So if I was going to do that with these blocks or even the other blocks that we have outside, I would have to try to stack all these up, try to keep them from sliding back and forth. It's just a lot easier with the CarmTech leveling kit. So that's some of the things, some of the tools that we've used in the past. Again, we used the 2x12 pieces of wood. Didn't work out too good for us. They were 2 feet long and they split. We used the 2x8 pieces of wood cut down to 1 foot sections. They still work. If I had to use them in a backup, they're always in the back of the truck. We also have the plastic leveling blocks. Again, we use those mainly for our front landing legs just so they don't have to extend as far. And today, if we ever need it, we're always using the CarmTech leveling kit. Okay, so that's some of the things that we use when we set up at a site. Before we disconnect, we can get our RV fairly level. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go into how do we actually level the RV. So we have our RV disconnected. It's set up. It's fairly close. We got it about as level as we possibly could. The next thing that we do, and we do this faithfully, is we put in our wheel chocks. If we do have the CarmTech leveling kit on one side, we don't really need chocks on that side, but we will still use chocks on the other side. If we don't have to use anything to level at all, we're just flat on the pavement, we always use 4 chocks. We surround one tire on one side and one on each side of a tire on the other side. We do that faithfully. But now let's talk a little bit about some of your options when it comes to how do you actually level an RV. I know a lot of this is very basic, but hopefully somebody might get something out of this, or might make them think of something different they didn't think about. First thing up is levels. Now we have a couple different levels. We have this little small one. I keep this in my toolbox all the time, and I have about this 2-foot level here. Now, something to be aware of with levels, generally speaking, the longer it is, the more accuracy you're gonna have, the more accurate they're gonna be. For this, honestly, my bigger one stays in the back of the pickup truck or tow vehicle. This one stays inside the RV in my toolbox. We use this if we need to. Now, there's a couple ways of doing this. You can get to a site when you're ready to start leveling your RV. Some people will just put the level on the floor, or the floor of the RV. Personally, I like to put ours on our kitchen island or up on one of the countertops. It's just, I don't feel like bending over for this. Again, these are RVs. This is not gonna be perfect. We're just trying to get this as close as possible. So levels, these are really good. This is very, very small. It's great just to keep inside the RV somewhere, even inside of a drawer, if you ever need to check if you're level or not. And believe it or not, we have auto level, and we still use these once in a while because they're not foolproof, and we'll talk about that in a second as well. So levels, they're definitely a good option to have. This is something that probably a lot of people might not even think about, but it actually works very, very well. If you don't have a level, maybe you got kids, with marbles. Take one of these marbles and just lay it on a countertop. See which way it goes. If it starts rolling to your right, you know your right is too low. You can raise your right side up. If it rolls forward, you know your front of the RV is too low, and you can raise it up as well. So a marble is actually a very, very good little tool to have. Again, if you have kids, you may already have some as well. What we like to do, and I'll talk about this again in a second, if we ever have to reset our auto level, the center, I like the marble the best because it's on top of the countertop. It's very smooth, and it will move any, if you're off at all, it will tell you. I think, personally, I think better than a level itself. Another option you have, and I use this once in a while, and I'll tell you something here in a second which really surprised me. This is just a leveling app on my Android phone. I got this for free. I don't even know the name of it, but it's free. This is pretty cool because I actually use this with our level and another tool I'll show you here in a second, and they all synced up pretty well. So this is another option. You get to a site, you disconnect, just lay your phone on a countertop or wherever you want, and you kind of go from there, check to see if you're level or not. So that's another free option, as a matter of fact. Now, if you want to get high tech, this is actually pretty cool, and I was pleasantly surprised. I was very, very skeptical about this at first, but I got to tell you, this thing synced up with my level and our app. This is the CarmTech Level Wizard. We got one of these just to try it out. Again, I was kind of skeptical at first, but this thing works pretty well. Now, what you do with this, I have it out already. I took it out of the box. This would go into your RV. You pull in, you can stick this on the floor of your RV. You can extend these legs out, and what this does is just makes it more accurate. But all these legs do come out. Hopefully you can see that. Let me see if I can get that up there for you. And this stick comes out as well. So this is how it works. And this, what you would do is you would lay it down on the floor of your RV. Now there's a couple ways you can do this. This also comes with a remote sensor as well. So when you're moving your RV, the remote sensor is going to pick up, hopefully you can see that, pick up what's going on. Now the way we use this, or we have used it, is when we get close to our site, or we get to our site, we can take this base unit and we can stick this on the floor of the RV. It has front, rear, left, and right. And what these lights tell you is which side is low. Okay, so you can see we have the red light here, which would indicate our front is low. As it gets more and more level, it will turn to amber or yellow. And what that's telling you is it's close to being level, and then once it turns green, it's level. So the base unit actually goes inside the RV. If you're in your tow vehicle, you can have this remote sensor, and as you're moving back and forth, it's going to pick up the RV, how level it is, and once everything is green, you know you're pretty close. Now again, I was pleasantly surprised with this. We used this a couple times. I came in, I backed it up with a level and also with the marble, and they all synced up. So that was really, really nice. So this is the, it's called the Carmtech Level Wizard. This is another option you have available to you. Again, it's a little bit more high-tech. It does cost a little bit of money, but it's pretty nice. Now, some people might be saying, hey, I know you guys have an auto leveler, and it's true. For the most part, we don't have to do any of this. This is all more for a backup or when we need it. Now what happens is we have an auto leveler. So basically we get somewhere, we can hit a button, the RV will level itself. They're not perfect though. We've been in situations where we would level the RV, we come inside, you can just tell just walking it's not level. Maybe at that point we might grab the marble, or we might grab a level just to verify it, and we can see, oh, maybe one side's too low or the front's too high or too low, something like that. At that point what we have to do is to go into our auto leveler. You can reset it. You can level your RV and then reset it back to a 0 point as well. So we do have these tools available to us. We don't use them all the time. Again, 99% of the time we just hit auto level and we're good to go. But there are times when that auto level is just, something's not right. We have to reset it, and that's where these tools come into play. So hopefully, I know this was very, very basic. Most people probably already know this stuff. I just kind of wanted to throw this out there. It might give you some ideas on some options you may have. Again, hopefully you did learn something from this. Remember, always live life to the fullest.